Well, he's here, possibly still snoring gently in the US ambassador's residence in Regent's Park, resting his eyeballs. Everything beautifully stage managed, as we've been reporting, right down to the last detail. But it's Trump. Anything could happen in the next 72 hours. Where do we think the potential flashpoints might lie? I mean,
can I put firstly, is a flashpoint the fact that protesters managed to flash these images of Jeffrey Epstein and President Trump at Windsor Castle? I mean, absolutely. I wonder if you've got the pictures. Absolutely extraordinary that they managed to do this.
The security in Windsor will be so tight, so intense, like we haven't seen before in Windsor ever, bigger than the coronation, and that is extraordinary that's happened. Look, and apparently as his plane, as Air Force One was flying in, the images have beamed all over the fields, so he'd have seen them as he was coming in. So he's seen this.
Yep. Look, we know Trump is a sex predator, and he lost a court case in the US where he had to pay money. We've seen it with the tapes. We've seen it from multiple sources and the evidence. So he is a sexual predator himself, and he was very close to Jeffrey Epstein, the paedophile, and he can't just dismiss as lies every bit of evidence.
He does sue over allegations that you make.
Yeah, and he has lost.
By the way.
Listen, he might be watching, Kevin. Kevin, he might be watching. Just warning you.
He has lost, and I paid damages to that woman in the department store. So let's, I understand what the Prime Minister has to deal with now.
He's currently suing a newspaper over the entry in the Epstein 50th birthday book.
For £1 billion.
It's not true. Well, let's see what happens.
Can I put the other side? We've had a lot of messages from people saying that they're tired of the negativity about Trump's visit. A lot of messages. Here's a typical one. This is from Nigel on email. It's essential this visit goes ahead and that we nurture our relationship with the USA. Trump was democratically elected by the American people, and as such, we have to deal with him, and we have to give him the respect that his position deserves. One more, Bob on email. He's more than welcome in this country. He's a president who's doing more to try and get peace in two conflicts than any other previous president. And there's more of the same. I mean, they have a point.
Well, I'm glad he's here. He's the President of the United States. The United States is still a very important ally of Britain, a very important trading ally, very important through NATO, UN Security Council. It's terrific he's here. I've had a lot of issues with Keir Starmer. He seems to have forged somehow quite a good relationship with the President, and that's good.
I'm not remotely defending his sexual predation, as you put it, because that's on the record, and you're absolutely right. But, Kennedy had one heck of a reputation as well.
Oh,
so did Bill Clinton.
And Bill Clinton, thankfully, was exposed when he was in office. JFK largely got away with it, and history caught up with him.
But we have to deal with these people.
You have to deal with them, but whether you have to grovel and fawn is another matter.
Well, whether you have no state visit or have a half-baked state visit?
I wouldn't have given him a state visit, no.
Well,
I wouldn't have offered it. It dug the Prime Minister out of a hole 7 months ago in the private office. But those two people you were out, yes, there is some support, but that is not universal. In fact, it's a minority. As for wars, Netanyahu and Putin have run rings around him. Despite the trade deal that Starmer negotiated, it's still worse for Britain than it was.
But it's less harsh than other countries, Kevin.
Yes, but it's still worse. Trump is no friend of Britain. Now, we're prostituting the royal family here because his mother was Scottish, and so therefore, my dear friend, my close friend, Prince Charles, who I think was probably sick when he heard that, he'll have to do his duty. But he's not a close friend.
My friend King Charles, he represents the country so well.
He's right.
Such an elegant gentleman. And Windsor Castle is the ultimate in settings. The King has been a friend of mine for a long time. Everybody respects him and they love him. And Donald Trump says he loves the UK. I have a lot of things here that warm my heart. It's a very special place. Doesn't it make you feel warm and fuzzy?
I think it's
fantastic. Doesn't it make you feel proud of the royal family? That we can leverage this soft power?
I'm caught between nausea and laughter, actually, when he's ladling on that praise on Charles. And also, he kind of ladles praise on Kim Jong-un. He ladles praise on Vladimir Putin.
But wouldn't you rather that than I'm going to punish the UK?
Well, he's punished the UK.
He could punish us further.
He's punished the UK.
He could. We do have a preferential trade deal, we had lower tariffs than other countries.
I'm in the majority. I'm not going to bend the knee to a narcissistic white authoritarian nationalist who dislikes and rubbishes allies and bends the knee himself to dictate.
He's a democratic elected of the United States. He's the most powerful politician on the planet. He's coming here. He's thrilled to be here. We're rolling out the red carpet for him. Good. It will be showcased all around the world. Windsor will look fantastic on international television all around the world. It's a great advertisement for great BLC.
My opening question to you both was, where might the flashpoints in the next 72 hours lie? And I guess there are two areas, aren't there?
Epstein.
One is his capacity to break protocol.
Yeah.
The way that he patted the Queen on the back, the way he walked in front of her. That's not that big a deal,
No.
but, you know, he does make waves. The other, of course, is on the press conference, during the press conference on Thursday, when the world's media will be throwing questions, and undoubtedly they'll be asking questions about his relationship with Epstein. That may be where the facade cracks.
Yeah, look, if he puts his hand on Camilla's back and it's not in a sexual way, then that's just a bit of protocol.
Well, I don't think he's going to do it in a sexual way, is he?
Well, given his record, you never quite know. But you're right, on Thursday at Chequers, when they have the joint press conference, because he likes to freewheel and he likes to go wherever he wants.
You never know what he's going to say.
Wherever he wants to go. And he will dominate it.
Yeah.
And Starmer will be reduced to a bit part player, wondering how often do I contradict him and correct him. That will be the Prime Minister's difficulty. I don't think Trump will come out all guns blazing, but he might, for instance, because he fans the flames of the far right and racism around the world, he might, for instance, attack Britain and say free speech is being eroded. But he won't look at the United States, where anybody who disagrees with him, in fact, he threatened a reporter and said the Attorney General might come after you because he asked questions he didn't want to answer. Or you see, after the assassination of the far-right agitator Charlie Kirk, anyone...
Far right is a little extreme, Kevin.
What?
It's the right-wing agitator.
What? He backs the Great Replacement theory, the conspiracy theory that somehow the government is working to replace white people.
I'm not sure
he did. He used to back it. He said the Civil Rights Act, which enfranchised black people, was a mistake. He backed the idea that...
He was involved in very supportive campaigns on behalf of black employment.
He backed the...
And had a lot of black supporters, by the way.
He backed... It was mainly white nationalists who backed him.
I don't think that's true either. I don't think you know the nature of all the people who backed him.
He backed the conspiracy theory that the election was stolen when it wasn't. You just go through the list. Far right hauls up.
He's a young man who was murdered.
Yeah.
He was a young man.
And that is appalling. And we haven't even had his funeral yet. It's a terrible stain on what's happened in America.
He was a hate preacher.
And he's a martyr to free speech.
Well,
he was a hate preacher, and he should not have been murdered.
He was also someone who went to university campuses and engaged in debate.
And he involved millions of young people in the political process, which is important.
I absolutely, utterly...
If you'd been on the other side of the
totally and uncompromisingly and in principle condemn political violence.
OK, good. Well, let's leave it there. Can we talk about...
He's no saint.
OK, well, I mean, yeah, that's his maybe.
Few of us are.
But exactly
Few
right.
of us are.
Yeah.
Trying to make out who you are. I mean,
few of us are.
But it's beholden on us, isn't it, to mind our language when a young father, whatever you think of his political statements of the past, when he dies in such a horrendous manner. We have to watch how we say it.
Let's not ignore his politics, and two, he opposed gun control.
Well, who doesn't in America?
Well, so do most people.
Most people back gun control. They can't get it enforced.
Well, he backed the amendment, which means that guns should be held freely, mainly because he wanted people to have guns against tyrannical governments. That was his justification. But just because people back having guns doesn't mean they deserve to be shot.
No, absolutely not. But it is worth pointing out, and those who pointed them out. In America, Trump will say, I defend free speech. Teachers have lost their jobs. Secret agents have lost their jobs. Somebody working for an American football team have lost their job. They don't champion free speech. They champion their own speech, and it's often hate speech.
But moderate speech. Let's stay moderate.
Yes.
Do you think that Donald Trump might take the opportunity to give us a little lecture lecture about how to deal with illegal immigration, given that his policies
Yes.
in America have been, according to his lights, extremely successful. Illegal immigration has dropped dramatically in this second term. Here, we see the one-in, one-out scheme still on ice. Yet again, a plane is taken off without the illegal immigrant who was supposed to be on board being on board. We're hearing now that it might be 2 weeks before lawyers finally hammer out a final decision either way.
If ever. If ever.
you
Who'd have
think
thought who'd have thought it, Richard, that human rights lawyers would block these flights? Who would have thought it?
Well, everybody-
Keir Starmer, of all people, ought to know, having been a human rights lawyer, is Attorney General, human rights lawyer. This would bedevilled every Tory attempt to get a plane in the air.
This
and
is the
now it's
Rwanda situation all over again, isn't it?
Exactly. And they mocked the Tories,
No.
Labour mocked the Tories' attempts to get planes in the air, and exactly the same thing's happening. The powerful human rights lobby, which his lot are going to do nothing about.
Firstly, in the States, there's huge criticism of people being dragged from their homes, workplaces and streets wrongly and deported who are not who they, the authorities claim they are. I don't think we want that in Britain. I think the decent majority, yes, wants migration controls. Yes, they want borders to be effective in police, but they don't want people just dragged off and chucked away. Now, deportations happen. There's been, was it 38,000, I think, or getting on for 40,000 since Labour came to power. In this case, the guy is from Eritrea. And it's a 2-week delay while he makes his case. I've got no objection to that whatsoever.
What do you say to those who beg the question, who is leading us, lawyers or our leaders?
Lawyers, and we're led by a lawyer too, because Keir Starmer's not a leader, he's a lawyer.
I think the issue is, Kevin, that the government introduced this policy, and you would have imagined that they would have drawn up the policy to allow for the time it would take for someone to lodge an appeal, rather than say we've got a one-in, one-out, it's going to be instituted within weeks, but every single person who they attempt to deport so far has lodged another appeal against being deported.
I think we think it's 2. As I say, 40,000
right.
others are being deported.
Yeah, but on the one-in, one-out scheme.
Yeah, I think it's because they wanted a sense of urgency of doing something, and they've got slightly ahead of themselves.
Slightly?
But this...
They've humiliated.
But this person deserves to have their case heard. If it's a 2-week delay, and it's not lawyers leading. It's not lawyers leading. Lawyers are operating the system that Parliament, the UK Parliament, lawmakers.
So the Conservatives, Andrew,
well, look, I can say on this though, on this one in, one out.
Yeah.
So are the people the French government are putting on a plane, are they still going to come in?
Apparently so.
So where they're going to come in, but none are going to go out.
No.
Meanwhile,
so
None
far.
are going out at all, but more are coming in.
So you're worried 2 people have arrived?
What a farce. It's not, it could be 50, because we don't know how many they detain.
It could be 1 million, could be 20 million.
Hang on, Kevin. The government would not tell us how many they detained. And then we discover 1 was on a plane the other day, 2 yesterday. It could be 50 are about to come in. The whole policy has unravelled.
Meanwhile, on a small Greek island, quite close to the coast of North Africa, Greek sunbathers taking matters into their own hands, forcing a boat full of migrants headed across, we don't know from which part of North Africa, but that's where it came from. It was headed for one of the beaches, and they got in the water, and they pushed it all the way back out again. This is a very small island, Greek island.
It's called
They
Gavdos.
say they don't want to become the version of the Italian island of Lampedusa, which, of course, has been overwhelmed by illegal immigrants coming in from North Africa. But that's seemingly what happens when the law can't be enforced.
It's frustration. There's great frustration in this country, huge frustration.
So
Huge frustration.
the Greek government in July stopped processing asylum applications for migrants and refugees arriving by sea from North Africa because of the dramatic increase in numbers. And migrants who've arrived since July the 11th must either volunteer for deportation or face up to 5 years in prison. I mean, that's a European country which has reached its limit.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's pretty horrific, locking people who may be...
Well, they want a deterrent,
maybe fleeing from Iran,
maybe
Afghanistan,
economic migrants,
Eritrea,
maybe economic
Sudan,
migrants,
Syria, those countries we know that are war-torn, and you're locking them up for 5 years.
They want a deterrent. Their country is filled to breaking point. People are getting to breaking point. They are getting to breaking point. And I know there was a lot of criticism of the big march on Saturday. A lot of those people who were there were nothing to do with the far right. They were there to express their concern about what's happened to our the migration in this country.
Yeah,
too much.
A march that was smaller than some of the pro-Gaza marches, by the way, just for a bit of
talking about
context.
Gaza, of course, the white tie banquet tonight, the big banquet tonight. Ed Davey, Liberal Democrat leader, not going. He's going to boycott, particularly on the issue of Gaza. Says the American president is not doing enough. Yesterday, of course, we talked about the UN Commission of Inquiry report concluding that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, and the other countries which do not now step in are complicit with genocide. This morning, we're talking to two former cabinet ministers who are on opposite sides of this debate. One who says we should now, as the UK, just stop arming Israel at all. We cannot be complicit in genocide. The other saying it isn't genocide what's happening. Israel's simply defending itself, and we should be giving more support to Israel in its fight against Hamas. Now, what opportunities do people have tonight to say to the president, what on earth are you doing? You're the one voice that Netanyahu should be listening to.
Next to none, because it's a very grand state dinner with lots of pomp and ceremony. The idea you lobby him politically, no. And
is Ed Davey making the right choice then by not going at all? Because at least it gets a headline. Yeah,
I think he is, because if people are starving in Gaza because of what the Israelis do you really want to be seen tucking in a roast swan or whatever they're going to be served? Now, of course, he can do that.
I can guarantee it won't be roast swan.
He can do that as leader of the Liberal Democrats. But I also understand, if you've invited him and you've got him here, why the Prime Minister has to be there, and some of the people will want to be there. I suspect. I don't know if the First Minister of Scotland and Wales have been invited, but if they have, I'm sure they'll be there. But I kind of get why some go and why some don't go. But I've got a lot of time for Ed Davey not going.
And that could also be a flashpoint tomorrow at the press conference, because somebody is bound to ask about Gaza and genocide.
Well, one of the points that's going to be...
I'm sure the President will not be supporting what this UN Commission has said.
The same UN Commission, by the way, earlier has condemned war crimes by Hamas, because the Israeli government, the most extreme reactionary government in Israeli history, always likes to present the UN as just against Israel. Ain't the case, but Israel is violating international law, certainly by occupying the West Bank.
Yep. Well, we'll have that debate a bit later on in the programme. Yesterday, of course, was the Duchess of Kent's funeral. Who should appear but Prince Andrew with Fergie. And he's come in for criticism again this morning, because the footage at the funeral shows him and Fergie laughing uproariously, while everybody else was very sober and serious, but he and Fergie seemed to find it all very amusing.
There are pictures of Charles smiling, because it's a funeral. I've been at funerals, and you mingle with people, and you remember other people, and you
think he's been
can't
picked
smile.
on fairly, do you?
I've got zero time for Andrew, absolutely zero time. But I think every now and again you've got to accept that you go to a funeral.
Yeah.
Any family having a funeral probably have estranged members. Some have bad uns. And you go along to a funeral, you don't ban them.
I completely agree with that. I think it's a low blow.
I think he was entitled to be there. He'd known the Duchess of Kent for a very long time, and when they were children, she was very close to them. Yeah. And weddings and funerals, I think it's different.